What is up, everyone? NinjaNick333. We are back for another round of the Champions League that is in the new standard post-rotation format. E-Block and on with Scarlet and Violet legal. This is the first match of day 2. Both of these players, I believe, here are 8-1. Looks like the Mew player is going first. They are against some sort of Lost Box deck. We are going to start with that. Of course, Battle VIP Pass is the best card to start with in Mew. You want to be benching as many Pokemon as possible here at the beginning of your turn as you can, because then that Genesect V's Fusion Strike system ability will allow you to draw an additional card for every one of your Fusion Strike Pokemon in play. The only thing that Mew decks lose going into this format is actually Quick Ball. So as you can see, that Feather Ball was just played to be able to search the deck for any Pokemon that has a 0 retreat cost. That would be Mew V or Mew V Max. So it looks like we'll probably just be searching a couple Mew Vs here. That way we'll be able to Fusion Strike system up for... Looks like if this one goes into play, a total of 4 cards. Fusion Strike system allows you to draw up to that many cards. So we also see one of the immediately benched Pokemon off of that Battle VIP Pass was the multi-strike, as I call it, Deoxys. It is Fusion Strike, Single Strike, and Rapid Strike all on the same card. The beautiful alternate art that shows all of the different Single and Rapid Strike tools on it, and Fusion Strike ones as well. So, looks like we have 5 Pokemon in play right now. Each of your Genesects will allow you to draw until you have 5 cards in hand. You do want to get one more bench Pokemon if you can here. It looks like there might be a Mew V in hand. We are going to see the attachment of a Fusion Strike energy. That makes sense, seeing that Deoxys. Deoxys is another alternate 1-prize attacker. It does 80 plus another 80 if there is a Fusion Strike energy attached to it. So we do see that other Mew V go down. We are going to be able to draw until we have the maximum 6 cards in hand. He is tapping that Genesect to signify that he has used it here. We're going to have to see if any more cards are burnt from the hand or if he's just going to leave on this. Looks like we do have a Cramomatic. Allows you to discard an item card, flip a coin. If heads, search your deck for any 1 card. Looks like that was a Tails, so that will be a fail. But we will still be able to draw an additional 2 cards with this next Genesect. So really, that's all you need turn 1. You've already gotten your energy attachment. You have all 6 Pokemon in play. Passing from here is not that bad of a situation. And it looks like that's exactly what we're going to do. So for Lost Box, ooh, that is an awful hand. I saw like 4 basic energies in hand here. They're just trying to see where the Lost Zone is going. So there is 1 card in the Lost Zone from Flower Selecting. Allows you to look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put 1 into the Lost Zone and 1 into your hand. We also see a Battle VIP Pass of our own here. So usually these Lost Box decks like to get Radiant Greninja and Comfey off of their Battle VIP Pass. So we'll have to see if that's what this player goes for. Getting a 2 Comfey is not wrong, especially if that Radiant Greninja is in the prize cards. Looks like we are going to go Radiant Greninja and Comfey. Big surprise. So we already used our active Comfey's ability. We are going to have to see if we can switch it out into this other Comfey, get another card in the Lost Zone. And at that point, a Chorus's Experiment after that will put you to 4 cards in the Lost Zone, allowing you to get an attack off with Cramorant. That is the ideal start for a deck like this. And we do see when these players need to cut the deck, because Japan is so strict with their COVID policies, they do actually have a barrier you might be able to see in between both players here. along with the masks. So there is no actual cutting. You do not reach across the table and cut your deck. You just tell your opponent how many cards you want them to cut to the bottom of their deck, and that's what they do. We do see the switching card allowing for the ability to go into that next Comfey, use its flower selecting after we've already used our Radiant Greninja to discard an energy and draw 2 cards. So that's gotten us a little further into our deck, but that hand still looks pretty dead, and without any more Comfeys in play, that will be it. It's very important to note that Lost Box did lose Scoop Up Net going into this format. It was a D-block card. All the D-block cards have rotated now. So we will not be able to see any multi-uses out of Comfeys in a turn. If you have 4 Comfeys, you can get 4 flower selectings, and that is it. So we will have to see if Mew is able to capitalize on this situation. Usually Mew likes to play multiple copies of Judge in order to disrupt your opponent. However, in this situation, I don't think that that's really necessary. You know your opponent's hand is pretty dead. It does have a lot of cards, though, so you could always judge those cards back into the deck and then make your opponent draw a new dead hand of less cards, making the likelihood that they're going to draw into a dead card higher. So that's kind of the risk-reward on playing Judge there. We are just going to go for the attach of the double turbo for turn 2, the Deoxys, and then an Elisa's Sparkle is going to get a Fusion Strike energy onto 2 different Pokemon. Looks like Mew V was one of the ones selected. I would not be surprised if another Mew V was selected as well. Looks like we are just going to get that 1 Fusion Strike energy. The other 2 in deck must be prized, or there must be an additional 1 in hand. Something along those lines. Yes, so there is at least 1 in the prize cards here for this player. And yes, the other 1 is in hand. I just saw it. So, the good thing about this Deoxys in this matchup here is that it is a 1-prizer, and it has more than 110 HP as well. So, it's not really threatened by the Cramorant. Cramorant can attack for free if you have 4 cards in the Lost Zone. However, it only does 110 damage. So, that's not going to be enough to knock out this Deoxys. And once you finally do knock out the Deoxys, you're just trading single prize knockouts. And it allows for Mew to be able to get further into the game before having to devote attacking with a 3-prize Pokemon. So the way that Lost Box will come back into this matchup right now is by using Drapion at some point. The Drapion V is able to attack for 1 colorless less for each Fusion Rapid and single strike Pokemon that your opponent has in play. The Deoxys only counts as 1 Pokemon, even though it has all 3 of those traits on it. But the attack cost is only for 4 normally. There are 6 Pokemon in play, so it's attacking for what almost is like -2. And it can hit the Mew VMAX for weakness for 320 damage, I believe it is. I think it's it's 190, so that's 380 after weakness. So quite a lot of damage. And as I just said, we do see the Cramorant was benched. We were able to switch into that, and it does hit for 110. Thankfully not onto the Deoxys, because that feels bad, to say the least. Hitting a 1-prizer and not knocking it out, just, you know, you don't want a 2-shot of 1-prizer. You always want to 1-shot a 1-prizer. So if this Mew doesn't evolve, it is being threatened by the Cramorant to be knocked out. So what this player on the right here will want to do is likely retreat back into that Deoxys and take the knockout there. He may also want to evolve this Mew that is damaged into the Mew VMAX. And also, if there is something along the lines of boss's orders for the Comfey, along with a power tablet and a double turbo energy, the Mew VMAX, you will be able to use fusions. Cross Fusion Strike attack on the Mew VMAX to copy your Psychic Leap attack from your Mew V. Do 50 damage because it's 70 minus the 20 for the double turbo. Plus 30 for a power tablet would be 80. 10 more than is needed to knock out a Comfey, so you'd need the boss's orders to bring that up. You can then Psychic Leap. The Mew will then shuffle itself back into the deck, effectively healing it of all of that damage. So that is one of the plays that could be done here. We do see one power tablet has been played. There was an attachment, though, to this benched Mew V of that other Fusion Strike energy. And this is one of those things where I always love to say that these Fusion Strike energy builds of Mew with the Elisa Sparkle are so much less consistent, because if you were just playing 4 double turbo energies and no Fusion Strike energies, no Elisas, those would be easier cards to burn from your hand and deck. You'd be playing higher counts of item cards, lower counts of energies. You would be able to dig a lot deeper, a lot faster, a lot harder, and you might be able to get to that Psychic Leap boss's orders play. But honestly, you're not really threatened too much with 110 on that Mew right now. You are going to be taking your second prize card of the game, and even if your opponent is able to do a boss or Serena of their own onto this Mew V with damage, they will be taking 2 prize cards and just evening up the game. So it will really come down to if the Lost Box player will be able to make a Drapion play at a good enough position in the game. We do see the Judge coming from the Mew player. Maybe we're trying to dig deeper for something. Probably the Mew VMAX. I have not seen one of those yet. We've used one of our only 2 Genesect in play. So shuffling those dead cards that aren't being able to be burned in your hand back into the deck is what the Mew deck does want to do. And I think at this point you've had essentially 2 free turns here. So you don't mind giving your opponent a new hand, especially since it's only 4 cards. That's not a lot for them to work with. Although we do see, I think there was a Colress's Experiment drawn off of this. So that might be what we need to start getting going in the game. That will put us in combination with a Comfey to 7 cards in the Lost Zone. We might be able to see an attacker come out of nowhere and get charged up with a Mirage Gate potentially. So we will have to see if that is the case. We did not get into the Mew VMAX. We are just going in with the Deoxys attack, but that is still perfectly fine here. The Colress's Experiment is coming out from the Lost Box deck. I'm not really seeing a lot that he can do with this. There's no... It looks like just 3 switching cards. Yeah, and another Comfey. So it looks like he is choosing to Lost Zone one of the Comfeys. I mean, with that many switching options, you might be able to utilize the 3rd Comfey and get a couple cards deeper into your deck. But it looks like there is a Mirage Gate in hand, so we are just looking for some sort of attacker that will really be useful here. I would say that the Radiant Greninja is not that bad of an attacker. You can put 90 on the damaged Mew V on the bench, and then another 90 onto the other Mew V that has the 2 Fusion Strike energies on it. That would soften it up for when it becomes a Mew V Max. You'd have to hit it a lot less hard with something like maybe a Raikou V if you're playing that. It looks like the Dragonite V is already in the Lost Zone, which is a little scary because that is something that you would want to use on the turn following this Radiant Greninja play. And we do see here comes the Mirage Gate. That's going to put a Water and a Lightning down onto this Radiant Greninja. We'll still have to see a switch card to move the Comfey out, as well as another Water Energy attachment from hand. Or maybe just a second Mirage Gate here. Although I would love to see that Mirage Gate, second Mirage Gate be saved for quite literally any other attacker on a future turn. We also have the Beach Court Stadium card I just noticed is in play. That allows all basic Pokemon in play to have 1 less retreat cost. So they are all free retreat here in the Lost Box deck right now. We are going in for the attack with the Radiant Greninja. And I would like to see those exact 2 I picked. Looks like choosing the Genesect for the other 90, I believe, is what was chosen. I mean, that's not incorrect. I just would have preferred to see the... I guess since the Dragonite is in the Lost Zone, it is more correct to put it to the Genesect, because then you can finish it off with a Cramorant on a future turn. and then try to take your last prizes off of the Drapion attack into the Mew. But again, prize cards are now just even for these two players, so this Mew will be able to go yet another one prize deeper, and still has that one prize attacker of the Deoxys hitting 160. So the Deoxys is pretty much Mew's tech to make the Lost Box deck matchup a lot better here, because Lost Box just does not have a lot of ways to deal with this Deoxys very effectively. And actually, it is hitting 140 because of the double turbo. Important to note. So we are just using some trekking shoes here to dig a little further into our deck. Looks like there are 5 or 6 cards in hand right now, so he's going to have to thin some of those out if he wants to use one of those Genesects. It would be nice to at least have the Mew VMAX in hand, whether or not you are going to be putting it into play or not. And another path for Lost Box to win will be to finally get through this Deoxys and then take the final 3 prizes on a Mew VMAX as well. So there are multiple paths to victory. So even though this Lost Box deck seems to be so far behind right now, it's not... You can't count it out until the last turn of the game. Lost Box just has such great comeback potential at pretty much all times. We do see that the Mew is trying to decide exactly how to thin out the hand. There is an Ultra Ball. There is a Lost Vacuum. Looks like we are going to use the Lost Vacuum to get rid of that Beach Court. I do like that. Make it so your opponent is less able to move those Comfeys around. But of course, that's one less card you thin out of your hand using the Ultra Ball, and also not the guarantee to get into the Mew VMAX. You could have just grabbed Mew VMAX out of the deck with the Ultra Ball evolved into it, and then been able to, you know, still draw into 3 more cards with the Genesect. So effectively down 1 card in hand and 1 Mew VMAX in play because of the choice to play the Lost Vacuum, but I believe that is still the correct play, because you could always just draw into that Mew VMAX off of this. And again, you still don't necessarily need it this turn, just because you are still attacking with that Deoxys. It's just still in play. It's still putting in all of this work. Alright, and we do see yet another Colress's Experiment here. So that Judge being able to get 2 turns in a row of Colress's Experiments here for this player is pretty decent. We will possibly see some more options coming out here. We're seeing the 4th Comfey is now in the Lost Zone, so the only 2 that are in play are the only 2 left for this player. We do see a Nest Ball as well. That is a fantastic reprint. We are at 11 cards in the Lost Zone. That is 1 more than is needed to use Sableye Lost Mine attack. Lost Mine, when you have 10 cards in the Lost Zone, allows you to place 120 damage, well, 12 damage counters specifically. It is different than 120 damage, technically speaking. 12 damage counters onto your opponent's Pokemon in any way that you would like. We do see the Psychic Energy as well. We just need a switching card. There is the switch card. So we are able to go in with this Sableye here. And of course, we would not have needed to play that switch card if the Beach Court was still in play. So the Mew player forcing that 1 additional card out of the Lost Box deck, if they did not have that, then, you know, that's 1 less way that they would have had to get this Sableye attack off. But we are going to see it now. Looks like we are putting 120 damage to this 2nd Genesect, and we finally see the math is lining up here. So the Genesects have 190 HP to begin with. That leaves this one that was just attacked with 70 remaining. The other one has 90 on it, so it has 100 left. So if you do 1 more Sableye and then recycle the Radiant Greninja, you could actually knock out both of those in the same turn. Make it so your opponent is not able to Roxanne you because you never go to 3 prize cards, you leave yourself at 4. And that's actually a very skillful way to play this. You could also always Choice Belt and Boss's Orders to bring up the 1 Genesect that has the 90 on it. And then you would be doing 120 20 to the active and then 90 to the benched one and be able to knock out both of them at the same time. So I think it might be... Well, yeah, I guess it doesn't really matter. 110, 90... Yeah, I guess you could have put 11 damage counters on the one Genesect and one to the other. And then they would... One of them would be at 110 damage, one would be at 100 damage, and they would both be within the Greninja knockout. So if you had the Ordinary Rod and another Mirage Gate, you could get into that way. So I do think that that is a little bit of a misplay. That one damage counter could actually matter. But we do see yet another Sableye turn here. We are likely just going to be spreading some more damage counters to both of these Genesects. I would like to... Yeah, I would like to see this not take any prize cards, just because that does make it so your opponent cannot play the Roxanne on you. Mew decks do play Roxanne from time to time. It will force your opponent to only be able to judge you. And you can also stack maybe a Mew up or the active Deoxys with some additional damage so that you have multiple different things that you could potentially knock out. In case your opponent does play something along the lines of Volo, Volo does allow you to discard one of your benched Pokemon in play. So you could just discard one of the Genesects and make it so there is no damage. But we just see some spread to those two Genesects yet again. So we are at 150 damage on one, leaving it at 40 remaining. And the other one has 180, meaning that it has 10 remaining. So just needs another 60 spread. So if there is an Ordinary Rod, you can just shuffle in Psychic Energy Sableye, maybe Quick Ball or Nest Ball for a Sableye, and then Mirage Gate that Psychic Energy back out of the deck. And you would have game. Yeah, so if you have Mirage Gate, Ordinary Rod in hand, you have game. And the Mew deck has no way out of this. And even though it seems like this Lost Box deck has not been able to do pretty much anything this entire game, it still shows just the strength of the fact that it is a one prize deck, and Mew just relies on all of these 2 and 3 prize card Pokemon. Even without the Drapion, Lost Box still has a favored matchup against it. If the Mew was playing something along the lines of Lost City in the deck, we could have seen the Lost City come down on the Radiant Greninja, being able to put that in Lost Zone, making it so that that could not be Ordinary Rotted back into the deck, and the same with the Sableyes. So that is another thing that this Mew deck might not have been able to fit into the deck, because they are playing things like the Fusion Strike Energy, like the Deoxys. And we do see the Clara is able to just take the Sableye and Psychic Energy out of the discard pile and take all 4 prizes in one turn off of those 2 Genesects. And that is the game. So very beautifully played by the Lost Box deck there. Very well played as well by the Mew deck, but that's just the way these matchups go sometimes. They are very rock, paper, scissors-y. And if you just do not disrupt hard enough with the judges, we only saw one judge from the Mew deck, and it honestly probably helped to the Lost Box deck, because those first couple of turns, all it was able to do was just one attack with a Cramorant. So that is it, guys. Do not forget, as always, to comment, like, and subscribe. Feeds that YouTube algorithm. About 20% of watch time right now is from subscribers. That has been a very significant boost. We have had a lot of new subscribers recently. I thank everybody who has made it to this point in the video and who is currently subscribed. And if you are not subscribed, hit that notification bell after you hit that subscribe button. It'll let you see these when they come up. Do not forget to follow me on all of the social media links that are in the description, including Twitch and whatnot. And I am starting to stream a little bit on YouTube here as well. So that is always a fun time. And we will see you guys next time for the next round.